Are you thinking of homeschooling your children? Looking for an alternative to their current schooling? If so, I'm sure that your mind is full of many questions. And I'm sure you are a mix of excited and terrified with all kinds of thoughts about how things will look, how you will conquer this thing called homeschooling. Today, I will answer 8 of your common questions. Now, I think those of you that are considering homeschooling will get a lot out of this episode, as well as those of you who are veteran homeschoolers. There's always time for looking at what we're doing, evaluating, and making changes as needed. Hey, homeschool mom. I'm Erica Sagert on the Intentional Homeschooler podcast with more actionable steps and encouragement for your homeschooling journey so you can confidently and intentionally homeschool your children without sacrificing your sanity. Grab a pen and paper, your favorite cup of brew, and let's get started. All right, let's just dive right into question number 1, which I think is probably the most common question. Will I mess my kids up? All right, this is a super common concern. It's an understandable fear. I believe if you are intentional, you seek the help of community, you're giving your kids a gift. You're not messing them up. Consider the following questions that I'm going to tackle today and always be looking for ways to improve. Question number 2, what in the world will I teach? All right, that's a pretty big one, right? Like, what am I going to teach? What curriculum am I going to use? All of that. Like, how do I know where to start? Well, we're in the time of the internet, so there are lots of places where you can find the required courses and things like that. There are lots of places to find curriculum reviews. If you want to use a comprehensive curriculum, there are lots of resources to choose from. Make sure you spend time reading reviews online, talking to other homeschool families. I know you can find a curriculum that's right for you. Some companies will even send you some samples of curriculum that you can check out and feel an actual hard copy. Also, some areas will have stores, actual, brick and mortar stores. We have one in this area of the Vancouver, Washington area, and it's really good to just go and peruse the different curriculums, get your hands on them, read through them. If you don't know anybody locally, there's always Facebook groups, YouTube channels, things like that are full of valuable resources for asking curriculum questions and sharing project ideas. Some local libraries even are wonderful resources for homeschoolers, and some have a once-a-month group for homeschooling families, so be sure to check that out as well. Teachers Pay Teachers is a wonderful resource online where you can buy certain lessons and things like that. Kathy Duffy has amazing curriculum reviews, as well as Rainbow Resource. They have a wonderful catalog online and an actual book that can be sent to your house if you like that, and they review a myriad of curriculum. Very, very helpful. So my favorite part, though, about homeschooling and curriculum is that the world is literally our classroom. Kids learn about money and math at the grocery store. They learn about agriculture in the garden, life cycles at the pond. So don't forget that daily life can afford so much teaching to your kids. You don't even think about it, but they're learning. When you're cooking in the kitchen, when you're driving to the store, when you're at the store, all of those kinds of things are part of the curriculum. All right, question number 3. What kind of a teacher will I be? So many homeschool parents will tell me, I'm not a teacher, I can't do this. A lot of times my answer is, but you are your child's parent. You know them better than anybody else. What a better teacher than a parent who knows their child. So you are responsible for determining the structure and flow of the day. And it's going to be based partly on your own style, your learning style, but we also need to be studying our children to check out what their learning style is. It is up to us as the parent to follow through with their education. It takes discipline to get focused and to figure out the routine, but you will find a groove after a few weeks or months. That being said, I want to be clear that homeschooling does not have to resemble a mini school. It can if you want it to, and some of my years looked a little bit more like a mini school, and other years definitely looked like homeschooling. But take time to study and figure out what you and your children need for structure and organization, and just tweak it as you go. As the children age, they're going to need different things. I've found that my best motivator when I was homeschooling my children was to look at my kids and see their excitement for learning, see what they wanted to learn, and add some of that into the regular curriculum times. So it's important to study those children, see what their learning styles are, how they best learn and retain information. Learning with my kids really was a ton of fun. When I could relax and really look at what they needed, those were our best days of homeschooling. Question number 4, where will we do our work? Well, it really depends on how your house is laid out. There were years where I had a specific room. It actually was a closet, a large closet that we used as our quote unquote homeschooling room. But honestly, most of our years of homeschooling happened all throughout the house. Some kid would work in their bedroom, probably the older ones. And then, some would be at the dining room table or at a table in the family room. Honestly, the dining room table probably was the most common place where we were doing our schooling. It was the hub of the family, and I was there and they could get help from me. I could monitor what they were doing. But honestly, you just need to be flexible and open to new ideas and change it as you go. But, learning can happen anywhere. Sometimes I remember when my dad was undergoing chemotherapy and I actually was his transportation, we would bring our homeschooling with us in the car and we would do it in the waiting room. Or you can do flashcards in the car. You can listen to books on tape in the car. Any place can work for homeschooling if you are creative. So think about it. Look at your house. How does it flow? Where will we do our work? Be flexible. That is so important. All right, our next question number 5. Will we get sick of one another? Yeah, I'd be fibbing if I didn't admit that January and February were a little bit long and we would tire of each other. Here in Washington, it's commonly pretty rainy in those months, and we do get a touch of cabin fever. Those are the times when we're very thankful for our social groups, the YMCA pool, the library, and the church gym. So if possible, involve your husband or maybe you have a retired mother, that's always helpful, who can arrange a weekly break for you. It is really important, Mama, to make sure that you get some breaks to recharge your batteries. It's amazing when I would have a break, I would be so excited to be with my kids again. So make sure that you get those times, those breaks. Maybe when your husband comes home from work, you can head out for a walk. Wherever it is, find those spots where you can get out and have a little break. All right, question number 6. Will my kids have friends? Everyone is familiar with the stigma of the weird homeschool kid. The 12-year-old with tape on his glasses, obsessed with video games and, whatever the picture is in your mind that you get. But it's just not like that anymore. Homeschooling used to be the quote other, okay? It is so much more common now. So whether your children have friends, that's basically up to you. It is super important for them to find their tribe. So I believe it's important for kids to be around other kids. So we had Monday play dates. We had Friday homeschool group. We had Tuesday morning Bible study at church where they had a homeschool group. We had Sundays at church, and my kids, when they got into middle school, they were involved in youth group. They had sports. They were involved with lots of other kids. So kids can have plenty of interaction with others. So they absolutely can have best buddies whom they regularly hang out with. Question number 6. How many years will we homeschool anyway? Well, I took it as a year-by-year basis. At the beginning of each school year, we would sit down and I would look at the kids and I would think about whether or not we were going to continue. Life is fluid. Things happen. People move. People have job changes. And you know what? Sometimes some of the kids aren't going to homeschool anymore. Just because you start with homeschooling does not mean you have to continue. Of course, as the host of the Intentional Homeschooler podcast, I want to give you the tools you need to continue to homeschool your children, but it's not a legalistic thing, and it's not a thing that once you start, you have to stick with it the entire time. Be open to what is best for your children. Things happen. There's always the option of enrolling your children in a different option. All right, question number 8, our final question of the day. How long can we get by on one income? Okay, so it can be pretty challenging to live on one income. Cost of living is just getting more and more expensive. It's not going down. But when we started having our children, I was committed to stay home. I was a classroom teacher, but I decided that I was going to stay home with my kids. This took some preparation and it took some discipline to live on one income. We made it a real point to be able to do that. We chose our house based on one income, and we chose the way we went on vacations based on one income. So when it is really important to you, it is possible. But also, with so many work at home options, it is possible for both parents to have a job while homeschooling. I would say be careful about how much work you do on the side. I know of parents who work full-time, both parents work full-time, and they still homeschool their children. But that's going to be pretty difficult. I'm not going to lie. It is challenging, and your children will need more from you than if they were in a traditional school. And you want to make sure that you have the time to invest in your child's education. But be creative. You could do a part-time job that you just do in the evenings or afternoons. Or like me, since I'm a teacher, I taught classes at Hope Learning Center to bring in some extra income to help with that. I also was the bookkeeper for my husband's business so that he didn't have to hire a bookkeeper. I was able to do that pretty much once or twice a week, and thankfully my mom helped me homeschool on those days. So maybe you have a friend who also needs to work part-time. Maybe you can trade. Maybe you have all of the kids on Tuesday so that she can work, and then she takes the kids on Wednesday so that you can work. Be creative with those income situations because it is a real issue to work through. So just make sure that you get created, be flexible, and stay committed. All right, so there we have it, those 8 common questions. I've covered some of the most frequently asked questions. Of course, there's more, but I've covered from curriculum and teaching styles to socialization, finances, and things like that. I hope this episode has provided some clarity and encouragement for you if you are considering navigating the wonderful world of homeschooling, or if you are in it full on. Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach, and it's not always the same. If you're in the middle of it, you might need to make some really big changes this year. Homeschooling is about finding what works best for your family, your children's learning styles, and your unique circumstances. It's a journey, literally, of flexibility, adaptation, and a whole lot of learning for both parents and kids. Whether you're just starting to explore the idea or you're a seasoned homeschooler, I hope you feel empowered to create a learning environment that nurtures curiosity, fosters a love of learning, and builds strong family bonds. Thank you for joining me today. Happy homeschooling. All right, homeschool moms, let's show some love. If you've been nodding along and thinking, yes, someone gets it, please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to this episode. Your reviews help other homeschool moms find this podcast and get the support in their homeschooling journey. It's like a virtual high five that can reach moms all over the world. Let's make the Intentional Homeschooler podcast the go-to resource for encouragement, practical tips, and actionable steps. You could also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to tune in every other Thursday for a brand new episode. Until next time, you've got this, Mom.